I've been wanting to build a shaving horse for some time. I've had some hickory trees blow down. I could make some tool handles out of that. I could make maybe some mauls, especially out of the limbs. I also have some black locust that are reaching the size that I can make an archery bow out of. So, need a shade horse. So I researched to see what is the simplest, easiest to make shade horse I could find. And there's plenty of the kind that you sit on. But this particular shade horse has the fewest components, easiest to make. It's lightweight, you can carry it in the woods pretty easily. It disassembles, the legs come off. This is going to be the bed of the shade horse. 3/4 inch piece of plywood, 48 inches long. I looked at a lot of the literature and it said on average you can change this, it can be modified, but about 27 inches between the end of the shave horse and the hole for the pivot. For the pivot hole, I'm going to cut out 6 inches by 2 inches, so I'd leave 4 inches on either side. And then we'll attach the pivot arm and the legs. This is going to be my lever arm. It's a 16-inch piece of 2x4. I beveled a 45-degree bevel using my miter box. Drilled a 3/8 inch hole, and kind of a dirty drill, so that it's a little wider than 3/8 inches. I'm going to put this steel rod in there. This was actually a fence post in its previous life. That's going to be my pivot for this lever arm. So now let me put the clamping head on. It's simply a 7-inch piece of 2x4. I pre-drilled it. Got a hole here so I can start this. And I will probably put 2 screws in here, but this is just to get it started. Okay, I cut out my legs out of a piece of 3/4 inch plywood, thinking 14 inches across the top and 24 inches tip to tip. You can adjust it ever how you would like to. My goal is, I've got these 2x4 pieces I plan to lay flat. Make sure you're doing this on the shorter end. And I plan to put the legs in like this. So my plan right now is that the legs will be detachable. However, if they're too wobbly, I will put in some L brackets to make it a little tighter. So to do that, I've got same width, 10 inches of the plywood board here. I've cut 2 2x4s. Instead of laying them this way, I'm laying them this way and creating cleats that will be spaced apart for this 3/4 inch leg assembly. Okay, so now I'm going to put into this some, I believe these are like 2-inch screws. So I'm going to put these in first and use this piece of 3/4 inch plywood as a spacer. All right, I have 2 6-inch segments of 2x4. I drilled a 3/8 inch hole down about 3/4 inch. This will be my top, and I got the 3/8 inch steel rod here through the middle. I kind of twisted the drill to make a sloppy hole so that they'd be very loose and able to turn in here. So my goal is to put these down, take my board, put it across the top so that the 3/8 inch steel rod will be centered underneath this. And now I will put in some screws to hold this in place. I'm using standard about 2.5 inch decking screws. So let me pre-drill first. Okay, now put in the 2.5, 3 inch decking screws. Okay, so a bit of fitment to this. When you first try to clamp it down, you use your original hole and it will show you where it's clamping to the board. Given my height, I needed to move the hole up, so I moved it up to about, let's see, for me it's about 7 inches, 6 3/4, 7 inches from the top of the board here, the top of the 2x4. But it's going to vary depending on your height as to what works for you. And also, if it touches the ground, given the height you've chosen to make the legs, you may have to take off an inch or two down here. I'm going to use a kind of a 3/4 inch plywood board here to as my foot pad, but I can't do that until I've attached it. So let me put it on. Okay. Remember, the head faces the shorter side. Now, because I made sloppy holes just so this would line up, it's going to have a little bit of wiggle in it this way. So if you don't like that, you can add washers later to tighten it up some, but I don't find that it really affects the performance very much. Once you've tightened up on whatever you're whittling on, this will work just fine, whatever you're shaving. Okay. I put the legs on. Okay, now I'm going to attach my foot pedal right here, and I've got a piece of 2x4 here. I can get a feel for how it works. So I just tighten up on this, and I can draw shave, change the height of what I'm working on. Okay. But as I said, if you want to tighten up on that, you can put washers on it. You can adjust the height of this 2 ways. One is you can cut, since you can't add, but you can cut here on the legs. Or initially, you can move where this fits in the cleats. If you put your cleats farther this way, it will lower the this effectively is the bridge as well as the bed. Or you can push it that far, push it farther back to raise it, depending on what height you want to work with. So you can draw directly to you, or if you got some really long piece, you can put one leg over this bar and get a really long pole and work on it from the side. Here I am with a shorter piece. See how it handles that? This is hickory. This is tough stuff. As you can tell, it's checked a little on the end, so it's drier than it ought to be. It's best to work this green. This is just more or less to see how this thing does. And I am well pleased